You don't have an attention problem. You have a competition problem. Because every time you sit down to do something meaningful, study, work, build a skill, start a business, your brain is forced to compete with something engineered by thousands of people whose job is simple: keep you scrolling. So let's clear up the biggest lie you've been told. Your attention span isn't broken. It's outmatched. And in this video, I'll show you the one change that can shift the entire battle in your favor, in about 6 minutes, because it changes the rules of the environment. Then I'll give you a simple training plan to rebuild focus. Plus the final upgrade almost nobody does: building a focus identity. So you stop needing willpower in the first place. No fantasy routines. No, wake up at 4 a.m. and become a new person by lunch. Just practical steps that work in real life. Part 1. The real reason you can't focus. Let's talk about what's actually happening. Most people think attention is a moral issue. Like if you were more disciplined, you'd focus. If you had stronger character, you'd stop checking your phone. That's not how it works. Attention is often a design issue. Your brain is not a robot. It learns patterns based on reward, friction, and cues. When something is easy, stimulating, and unpredictable, your brain tags it as worth checking. That's why short-form content is so sticky. It's not just entertaining, it's uncertain, and uncertainty is addictive. One more swipe might be boring, or hilarious, or shocking, or exactly what you like. Now compare that to real-life goals. Writing a paper, learning a new skill, building a portfolio, reading a book, practicing a language. Those are delayed reward activities. The payoff is real, but it's not instant. So your brain does what brains do. It chooses the path of least effort with the fastest reward. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When your environment is full of stimulation, focus becomes a heroic act. When your environment is calm, focus becomes the default. That's why the fastest fix is not motivation. It's environment design. Part 2. The one change. Make distractions boring and inconvenient. Here is the one change. Make your distractions more boring than your goals. Not your goals more exciting. Not your desk more aesthetic. Not your workspace more vibey. Instead, reduce the stimulation of the bad options so the good options finally win. Think of it like food. If cookies are on the counter and carrots are hidden in the fridge, you already know what's going to happen. But if the cookies are locked away and the carrots are prepared and visible, your discipline magically improves. Not because you changed as a person, because the environment changed the outcome. Now let's translate that into the digital world. Part 3. The 6-minute attention reset. Do this today. I'm going to give you a 6-minute reset. You can do it right after this video. It has one purpose: remove the visual dopamine and add friction. Step 1. Minute 1 to 2. Delete stimulation from your home screen. Remove widgets that feed you information, news, trends, weather, memories, anything that invites checking. Remove bright, fun app layouts. Keep only tools you truly use to live: phone, messages, maps, calendar. If an app is entertainment, it should not be the first thing your eyes see. Step 2. Minute 2 to 3. Put all distracting apps into one folder and bury it. Do not delete them. Deleting is dramatic, and dramatic changes don't last. Instead, put social apps, short-form apps, and games into one folder. Move that folder to the last page of your home screen. Your goal is to create a small pause between urge and action. That pause is where freedom lives. Step 3. Minute 3 to 4. Turn on grayscale, or reduce color intensity. Color is not neutral. Color is stimulation. When your phone looks less like candy, it becomes less tempting. If you can't do full grayscale, reduce saturation or use a sleep display mode as much as possible. Step 4. Minute 4 to 5. Kill non-essential notifications. Keep only calls, messages from key people, real emergencies, critical work alerts, if truly necessary. Notifications are not reminders, they're interruptions. They train your brain to expect novelty every few minutes. Step 5. Minute 5 to 6. Move the phone away from your sleep zone. If your phone lives next to your bed, your brain learns this rule. Waking up equals stimulation. And then your day starts with mental noise. Charge it across the room, or better, outside the bedroom. This single boundary matters more than most productivity hacks. Part 4. Why this works, and why it feels too simple. If you're thinking, that's it? Good. Because simple is exactly the point. The brain follows cues. When cues become boring and inconvenient, cravings weaken. Also, this approach doesn't rely on you being strong all day. It makes your environment do the heavy lifting. And there's research-based support for training attention in a structured way. For example, a GLASP highlighted summary points out that mindfulness practice, around 12 minutes or more per day, was associated with benefits in objective attention and mood measures. And that mindfulness strengthens meta-awareness, noticing where your attention is going. That matters because the goal isn't to never get distracted. The goal is to notice distraction quickly and return. Environment reduces the number of distractions. Meta-awareness reduces the duration of distraction. That's the combo. Part 5. The training plan. Rebuild attention like a skill. Now we train. Not with extreme routines, with progressive reps. Exercise A. The boredom rep, 5 minutes. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Sit, no music, no video, no multitasking, no, just checking something. You're not trying to meditate perfectly. You're teaching your brain, I can be here without stimulation. This is important because many people don't struggle with focusing on work. They struggle with being alone with their own mind. And a GLASP video summary frames distraction as often coming from deeper roots like an idle mind and a compulsion for comparison. Suggesting purposeful activities, scheduled silence, and cleaning up digital feeds to reduce those loops. So this boredom representative is not punishment. It's detox from comparison and noise. Exercise B. Monotasking intervals, 10 right pointing arrow 20 right pointing arrow 30 minutes. Pick one task. 1. Set a timer. Week 1 10 minutes. Week 2 20 minutes. Week 3 30 minutes. During the timer, one tab if possible. Phone out of reach. No switching tasks. This works because it lowers the entry barrier. You're not promising 2 hours of perfect focus. You're promising 10 minutes. And once you start, momentum kicks in. A GLASP Patch article also describes interval training for focus, working in focused bursts with breaks. Gradually extending duration to build resilience against distractions. That's exactly what we're doing here. Exercise C. The silent walk, 10 minutes. Walk without headphones. If that sounds unbearable, that's the signal you needed. A silent walk resets your stimulation baseline. It gives your brain space to process, think, and downshift. And there's also consistent emphasis in GLASP writing on stepping away from screens and using nature, physical activity, and deep thinking practices to counter the attention economy. You don't need a forest. Even a quiet street helps. Part 6. A real-life story. How this changes a normal person's day. Let me give you a realistic example. Imagine a college student. Let's call her Maya. Maya isn't lazy. She's exhausted. She sits down to study, opens her laptop, and within minutes she's checking messages. Then a short video. Then another. She feels guilty, so she tries to reset by watching productivity content, which becomes more content, which becomes another hour gone. So she decides to try the 6-minute reset. She removes the stimulating home screen, hides the apps, turns off notifications, puts the phone across the room, and sets a 10-minute monotask timer. The first day, she doesn't feel transformed. She feels irritated, bored, restless. But here's what changes. For the first time, the distraction doesn't feel automatic. It feels like a choice. By day 3, she notices she can read longer without needing a hit of entertainment. By day 7, her brain starts associating her desk with one thing: work. And when she does scroll, it feels strangely flat, because her baseline stimulation is dropping. That's the hidden win. You don't just get more productive, you become more present. Part 7. The boring habits that turn you into a different person. Now let's talk about the habits that feel boring at first, but quietly change your brain. 1. Long-form reading. Not quotes, not summaries, real reading. Reading forces sustained attention. It retrains patience. If you want it easier, start with a topic you genuinely like: business stories, sports psychology, biographies, mysteries, anything. The point is time under tension for attention. 2. Deep practice of a skill. Choose one skill and practice it uninterrupted. Drawing, coding, cooking, music, fitness technique, writing. The first 15 to 20 minutes may feel dull. That's the gateway. Once you pass that phase, you're training what many people have lost: depth. 3. Sitting with your thoughts. This is the final boss. Because many people aren't addicted to their phone, they're avoiding discomfort, anxiety, uncertainty, loneliness, pressure, comparison. When you can sit with your thoughts without escaping, you gain something rare: self-trust. And self-trust makes focus easier, because you don't panic when work feels hard. Part 8. The twist. Tactics aren't the final level, identity is. Now for the upgrade most people skip. They collect tactics forever. They rearrange apps. They install blockers. They try new routines. They watch more videos about focus. But they never ask the deeper question: who am I becoming? Because identity beats tactics. If your identity is, "I'm the kind of person who gets pulled by distractions," you'll always return to that story. But if your identity becomes, "I'm a person who protects attention," then your daily choices change naturally. You don't sleep next to the phone. You don't open social apps when you're anxious. You don't multitask as your default. You keep your environment calm. You treat attention like a valuable resource. And yes, attention is a resource. In fact, a GLASP-highlighted summary explicitly frames attention as a scarce economic resource. You only have so much to give in your lifetime. So the question becomes, where is your attention going, and what is it building? Here's the takeaway. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your environment. So today, do the 6-minute reset. Clean the home screen. Hide distracting apps. Reduce color stimulation. Turn off non-essential notifications. Move the phone away from your bed. Then train attention with 3 reps. 5 minutes boredom. 10 minutes monotask. 10 minutes silent walk. And finally, choose the identity. I'm a person who protects attention. Because once distractions become boring, and your mind becomes trained, your life opens up. You stop consuming by default. You start creating by choice. You choose depth over noise. That is how attention comes back.